Stardew Valley is a fun and lighthearted game on the surface, but that hasn't stopped people from creating some darker or slightly more disturbing fan theories. Today we're going to be going over some of my personal favorites. This can be enjoyed as just audio or visuals as well. So put this on in the background or something and finish up that homework or do the dishes or whatever. Enjoy. You died going to Stardew Valley. You arrive at Stardew Valley by taking a bus. But in this theory, you never actually arrived to Stardew Valley. The bus is totaled on your way there. Perhaps in said crash, the player unfortunately gets killed. This would suggest why nobody ages, and why things pretty much just keep going on normally year after year in Pelican Town. Since if you didn't know, after the first 2 years, nothing changes. The witch created the totems for revenge. There's a pretty crazy theory that the totems in the witch's hut were going to be used for revenge on the wizard. She wanted to erase the wizard's mistress' mind, then turn the product of her affair with him into a dove. Strange dolls are dead children. The strange dolls are artifacts like any others that can be found around the world. However, it looks eerily similar to an actual child, and one actually pops out in the TV sequence after you turn a children into a dove, suggesting a connection between this event and the strange doll. Grandpa's tragic past. Grandpa did not exactly have a nice retirement. He got trapped on his farm, died in Pelican Town, and may have actually been married to Evelyn at some point. Either Evelyn married George after he died, or Evelyn left him to marry George early on in their relationship, since there's a little photo of her on his mantelpiece in the opening cutscene. Mr. Key is evil. I think Mr. Key could have possibly expected the player to come this entire time, but needed Grandpa dead for them to come to Stardew Valley. So what if Mr. Key killed Grandpa to get the player to the farm, to have the player do a lot of his dirty work, like completing all the quests for him and more? Also, why does he keep track of the player's progress so heavily? There's the tracker in the casino and the perfection tracker. Why does he need to know all of this? Maybe he wants to turn the player into some sort of Black Widow to make him a powerful hero that Mr. Key then uses for his own gain. But then again, Mr. Key is also super powerful and shows the player how to get some really cool items, like the Galaxy Souls that lets him turn the Infinity Hammer into the Infinity Gavel, and he also leads the players on a lot of scavenger hunt, like the quest to initially unlock the casino where Sandy resides, and he never actually tells us the reason for this. This leads me to another question. Is Sandy a part of this? She's already an accomplice by proxy. His casino was in her shop, but does she have an impact on him? I recently watched Leapalot's video and he uncovered a couple of theories, but I actually have my own theory. So it is revealed in some of Sandy's dialogue that Mr. Key is paying her a decent amount of money to hold the casino in her house. But what if that's just a cover-up? What if Mr. Key has actually trapped Sandy inside of the oasis and only lets her out once a year because whatever curse he placed on her doesn't work on her birthday for whatever reason, which is the region she leaves with Emily to wander around the town only on her birthday? Because think about it, the only thing she really has in the desert is her shop, and unfortunately, because her shop is in the desert so far away, she doesn't get to meet with her love, Emily. Why wouldn't she just leave the shop to go live with Emily? Or why wouldn't Emily move in with Sandy? I think the only logical explanation is that Sandy is completely trapped in the desert by Mr. Key or some other magical force. It could obviously be something else, but I don't really understand the motivations why she continues to stay in the desert. Alex's mother committed suicide. Alex had to move in with his grandparents, George and Evelyn, in the town. And unfortunately, it's revealed that the thought of raising Alex alone, since Alex's father left, was too much for Alex's mother. On the nightstand in Alex's grandparents' bedroom, there's a letter from Clara, Alex's mom, saying if they got the letter, it meant she had passed on. She also might have been sick and had sent that letter in advance before her demise from her illness. Either way, it's devastating to Alex. Yamaleev has also made a good video exploring Alex's past, and Alex is definitely more than just the jock he presents himself as he has a pretty tragic backstory. To go back to his father, Alex's father was verbally abusive as far as we know. He was basically a drunk as well, which is never something good. This abuse is pretty common and almost always goes the same way. The abuser tells the abused, Alex in this case, that he is worthless, he can't do anything right, he's stupid, and he'll never amount to anything in life. This leads into Alex's huge obsession. Grid ball, one of the only things he's good at. He pushes himself night and day to improve his body and his skills. He pushes so hard in life that it's just about the only motive in his life, just to prove his father wrong. And when the player seems like he or she might also be good at grid ball, he gets a little bit jealous, understandably. The mayor's carelessness. We all know the mayor doesn't really care about Pelican Town, but how far does this really go? We know he spends money on the giant gold statues of himself, for example. The bus, minecart, and the ship to Ginger Island are all busted and out of order when the player arrives in Pelican Town. Maybe he was waiting until everything fell into ruin to sell the town to Joja? I mean, if he really cared, he wouldn't rely on anyone else to solely fix his town for him. Kinda makes me wonder how he got the position of mayor in the first place. He was also kind of bad to Marnie because he said that they should keep their relationship secret due to status, which is pretty lame. I understand privacy is important, but you're the mayor of the town, you're both adults, no one would really care. I think he might just be a little bit embarrassed maybe because of Marnie, which is obviously awful. Theft in Stardew Valley. I feel like this isn't really talked about a lot, but whenever you pass out, sometimes your stuff will be stolen. It really makes us wonder who exactly is stealing from the player. What good citizen of Stardew Valley would ever steal from the player? They do nothing but good for the town, repairing things, getting stuff done, and pretty much one of the only productive functioning members of the town. At first, people might theorize it's Krobus, he's shadowy and stealthy, but what if it's Linus? He lives alone and away from the others. Well, spoiler alert, it's actually just the dwarf, as revealed in some of his dialogue. But it still begs the question, why does no one try to investigate the theft? Is this just more of an understanding between the villagers and the dwarf? What would happen if one of the townsfolk fought back? Does the dwarf have some sort of hidden power? I mean, probably not, considering this cutscene between the dwarf and the Krobus, but it's still interesting. Relationships. In Stardew Valley, there's a huge trend of family strain, affairs, the death of parents, and even soldiers with PTSD coming home from the brutal war. With affairs, Wizard and Caroline, and secret relationships, Marnie and Lewis of course, everyone in Stardew Valley is pretty cordial. Sure, you could say that people have good relationship with kids, but they're kids. It feels like more like a mentorship or shielding them from the reality that Stardew Valley is built off sneaking around and lying. The mayor can't even extend the basic decency to build a school for the kids, and he won't even get them a new pair of books even though they're completely destroyed. He leaves public transport in shambles, a witch flies around and curses neighbors' crops and animals, and the only form of education is a singular villager, Penny, and a couple of books around the library. For such a happy game, it's hard to immerse yourself when everyone around you is afflicted by something going wrong with their family. Desert Tomb Glyphs. In the tomb level specifically of the Skull Cavern, there's a pretty interesting message written on the walls. And at first it just seems like random patterns, but some clever Reddit users actually managed to translate it, and it says, "Wizard sealed us in this prison until the day a hero puts us to rest." This obviously sheds a very dark light on the wizard, since why the heck would he trap all these people in the mine? And it begs another question, well, are the mummies real people? Former villagers? Maybe war criminals that the wizard sent down into the Skull Caverns and curse them to remain permanently and never die? So when we finally eliminate mummies by blowing them up or using an enchantment, are we really putting them out of hundreds or thousands of years of pain? And another question, what exactly are slimes? In Stardew Valley, you meet some friendly little creatures called Junimos, and they bear a striking similarity to slimes, except without arms and legs, and obviously, Junimos don't try to murder you. Perhaps the wizard trapped some Junimos in Skull Caverns to experiment on them and saw that they eventually got transformed by the Iridium into these bloodthirsty creatures? I definitely think it's a possibility. If you enjoyed this video, then check out my Stardew Valley iceberg on screen. Lots more lore and tidbits over there. Hope to see you there. Bye.